Now, we have said it many times here in Crime Talk. There are two types of people in the world, those that are humble and those that are about to be. Humility is the quality of being humble. Humility is having or showing a modest or low estimate of one's importance. Most people try to be humble, and as we all know, those who are not. Maybe that's why when we see people who have it all but are not humble, we love to watch them fall from grace, particularly when those people have been given, not really earned, power, money, and influence. They squander it, not for good, but for evil. And this is the story of Alex Murdaugh. Alex Murdaugh's life was literally the American dream. A father of two, a partner, and a successful law firm founded by his great-grandfather over a century ago. The 53-year-old seemed virtually untouchable. He was the former president of the State Trial Lawyers Association. He was sitting atop a legal dynasty that produced 3 successive elected solicitors or local prosecutors in the South Carolina Low Country. Now, the family image, although they tried, wasn't perfect. Murdaugh's youngest son, Paul Murdoch, had been charged with boating under the influence in connection with an accident that killed Mallory Beach. Many in the Low Country of South Carolina figured the 22-year-old would not face any criminal liability. Why? Because the family was simply that powerful. Then things happened to change. On June 7th, 2021, Alex Murdaugh reported finding his wife, Margaret, and his son, Paul, fatally shot near the dog kennels at their hunting cabin. There appeared to be no named suspects. Now, Murdoch has civil lawsuits and criminal cases pending, and one is related to the botched assisted suicide insurance scheme to benefit his surviving son, Buster. Now, police say Murdoch confessed to taking part in that scheme. And obviously there's more. There's the death of a housekeeper on his property and an alleged plan to steal the settlement money to pay his drug dealer. How about the alleged murder of a 19-year-old nursing student? And as I've said, there are two people in the world that are humble and those that are about to be. Alex Murdaugh's story is a story of a powerful man reduced to nothing by his own hubris. Now, the Murdaugh family had deep connections in law enforcement and in the legal community, including political officials, as well as in all social circles. Well, he's now facing 2 criminal trials, 12 state grand jury indictments that could mean a sentence of over 500 years behind bars, as well as a handful of lawsuits. His family has also been tied one way or another to at least 5 other state investigations. Now, police have begun to chip away at the Murdaugh's privilege. First thing we have to wonder is who killed Maggie and Paul Murdaugh. Now, while the 2019 boat crash that killed 19-year-old Mallory Beach and eventually produced criminal charges against Paul Murdaugh, those charges were dismissed after Paul was murdered. And the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division, also known as SLED, says Murdaugh called 911 around 10:07 p.m. on June 7th after discovering the 2 near the dog kennels outside their 1,700-acre property. Now, in the 911 call, 7 minutes in, Murdaugh states his wife and child have been shot. He states, quote, "I've been up to it now. It's bad," Murdaugh said, while dogs barked in the background, later adding that he had arrived home from visiting his ill father to discover the bloodshed. Now, the police have been quiet about the investigation, but Murdaugh's lawyers have said publicly that Alex Murdaugh has been a person of interest in the double homicide from the beginning. Now, Murdaugh claims he has an alibi and he has no motive to kill his wife and son. Now, there have been allegations that Murdaugh and his wife were having marital troubles before the murder. Reports that she wanted an accounting of their finances prior to the murders has also come forward. One could presume that if there was something there by now, the police would have charged Alex Murdaugh, right? No charges yet. If not Alex Murdaugh, then who killed Alex Murdaugh's family? Nothing has been released from the press as a person of interest. Now, Mr. Murdaugh is also alleged to have stolen $6 million from clients at his former law firm, and he's also claimed that since the firm has paid it back or the insurance has paid it back, that he shouldn't be held responsible for that in any way. Then we have Stephen Smith. Who is Stephen Smith? And is the Murdaugh family involved in the 2015 death of the 19-year-old Stephen Smith? On June 23rd, police announced that they would open an investigation into the unsolved homicide based upon information gathered during the double murder investigation of Paul and Maggie Murdoch. Police would not comment on what new information from the double homicide made the police take a new look at the Smith case, or how the Murdochs might have been connected to the teenager in any way. You have to remember, Smith was found dead on a rural backcountry road in Hampton, South Carolina on July 8th of 2015. Now, while his death was immediately deemed suspicious, a medical examiner ultimately concluded that the teenager died from a hit and run, despite his head wound being consistent with a gunshot. Nobody has been charged in his death, and other than SLED's investigation announcement, the Murdochs have never been publicly linked to the death of Mr. Smith. Now, reports allege that witnesses suggested Murdoch's older son, Buster, was somehow tied to the accident, though authorities never corroborated the allegations, and Buster has never been charged. Then there's the matter of Gloria Satterfield. Now, Gloria Satterfield was 57 and a longtime nanny who died on February 2nd, 2018 from injuries sustained at the Murdoch family's Hampton County home. Now, on the 911 call, a man is heard saying that Satterfield cracked her head and there's blood on the concrete and she's bleeding out of her left ear. Now, though the details of what led up to that remain unclear, now, Miss Satterfield died several days later from a stroke and cardiac arrest while in the hospital. Now, Murdoch has not been charged with any crimes, nor even named a person of interest in connection with Miss Satterfield's death. In a September letter to SLED asking for a new probe, the Hampton County coroner, Angela Topper, revealed that Satterfield had never been subject to an autopsy. On the death certificate, the manner of death was ruled natural, which is inconsistent with injuries sustained in the trip and fall accident, as the coroner alleges. Now, prosecutors alleged that Murdoch funneled millions of dollars meant for Satterfield's son in a wrongful death lawsuit for his own benefit, and Satterfield's family has also filed a lawsuit against Murdoch for the misappropriation of those funds. Now, some settlement has already been made, but Murdoch has stated that things should have been handled differently. Murdoch allegedly encouraged Satterfield's two sons to sue him to seek an insurance settlement. The kids were to receive $4.3 million from that settlement, and Murdoch allegedly pocketed the cash for his own use, according to the Satterfield's family lawsuit. Now, Mr. Murdoch acknowledges that he mishandled the $4.3 million from the Satterfield's two sons' money, and he has apologized publicly when in court asking for a bond reduction. I believe that we're going to see more charges against Alex Murdoch. I have a feeling that what we've seen so far is just scratching the surface of the theft schemes and the alleged criminal conduct that Alex Murdoch engaged in, not just in what's been revealed, but for many, many years beforehand. Obviously, we'll give him the presumption of innocence because he has not pled guilty. This type of fraud was not a one-time incident. This went on for years, and it was allowed to take place because of Mr. Murdoch's name, the firm that he worked for, and the privilege that he was given by law enforcement because of that family name. And with that privilege comes a lot of authority. Mr. Murdoch allegedly abused it. We'll see how things shake out, but I think things are going to get even worse before they get better.